I was born in the year 1632 in the city of York, in the north of England. My family was well off, though we were not nobility. My father was a wise and serious man who had made his fortune in trade before retiring to the countryside. My mother was a gentlewoman from a good family, and together they raised 3 sons. I was the youngest. My brothers had their own paths. The eldest became a soldier and died fighting in a war across the sea. The second brother left home one day, and I never learned what became of him. That left me, the last son, the one my parents held on to tightly. My father wanted me to study law. He wanted me to live a safe, quiet life. He wanted me to stay on solid ground, but I had a fire in my blood. I did not want ledgers and courtrooms. I did not want a desk. I wanted the sea. I would walk to the river and watch the boats. I would read books about far-off lands, about storms and islands, and strange people. I would dream of waves crashing against a ship, of wind filling the sails, of the unknown waiting just over the horizon. My father called me into his chamber one morning. He was confined to his bed by gout, but his voice was steady. He asked me what I sought in the world. He told me that the middle station of life was the best, neither too rich to be proud, nor too poor to be miserable. He told me that going to sea would bring only hardship and disaster. He warned me that if I left, God would not bless me, and I would have leisure to repent when there was no one to help me. Tears ran down his face as he spoke. I was moved. I truly was. I promised him I would stay. I promised I would forget my foolish dreams. But a promise made against one's nature is a fragile thing. A year passed. The fire did not die. It only burned hotter. One day I met a friend in Hull who was going to London by sea in his father's ship. He told me I could come along for free. The word free sounded like a key turning in a lock. I did not ask my father. I did not kiss my mother goodbye. I left without a word, without a blessing. On the 1st of September, 1651, I stepped onto the ship. It was the worst mistake of my life, and the beginning of my life. No sooner had the ship left the harbor than the wind began to blow. The sea rose up in angry peaks. I had never been on a ship before. My stomach turned, my head spun. I fell to the deck, terrified. I thought every wave would swallow us. I thought every gust of wind would break the mast. I prayed. I vowed that if I reached land alive, I would go straight home to my father and never leave again. The storm passed. The next day, the sun shone, and the sea was calm. My friend laughed at me. He called me a freshwater sailor. He gave me punch to drink. We got drunk. I forgot my prayers. I forgot my vows. Days later, a worse storm hit. This time, even the captain looked pale. We cut the masts to save the ship. The waves broke over us like mountains. I saw terror in the eyes of men who had sailed for 20 years. We fired guns for help. A nearby ship sent a boat to rescue us, just before our own ship sank into the deep. We landed at Yarmouth, cold and penniless. I had a choice then. I could go home. I could walk back to York, fall at my father's knees, and beg forgiveness. He would have taken me in. He would have killed the fatted calf. But shame is a powerful master. I imagined the neighbors laughing. I imagined my father's "I told you so." I could not face it. So I went to London. In London, I met a captain who was honest and kind. He took a liking to me. He taught me mathematics and navigation. We sailed to Guinea in Africa. It was a successful voyage. I brought back gold dust and made a small fortune. I felt like a real sailor now. I felt I had proven my father wrong. But fortune is a wheel, and it turns. On my next voyage, pirates attacked us. Turkish rovers from Salih. We fought, but they were too many. They boarded our ship. They killed 3 of our men. They took the rest of us as prisoners. I, Robinson Crusoe, the man who wanted to see the world, became a slave. For 2 years, I worked in the garden of the pirate captain. I looked at the sea every day, not with love, but with longing. I planned. I waited. One day, the captain sent me fishing in a small boat with a Moorish boy named Juri. I saw my chance. I threw the other man overboard. He could swim well. I pointed a gun at Juri. I told him, "Be faithful to me, and I will make you a great man." The boy smiled and swore to serve me. We sailed south for weeks. We did not know where we were. We saw lions on the shore. We met friendly tribes who gave us water and food. Finally, a Portuguese ship saw us. The captain saved us. He bought my boat and took me to Brazil. In Brazil, I became a planter. I bought land. I grew tobacco and sugar. I made money. I had neighbors who respected me. I lived the middle station life my father had wanted, but I was not happy. I was bored. The fire in my blood returned. Other planters came to me. They wanted to go to Africa to buy slaves for their farms. They asked me to lead the voyage. They said I would not have to pay anything. I would get my share of slaves for free. I should have said no. I had enough money, I was safe. But the word free tempted me again. I boarded the ship on the 1st of September, 1659. 8 years to the day since I left my father's house. The voyage was cursed. A hurricane struck us. For 12 days we were tossed like a leaf in the wind. We lost our way. We lost men. Then a second storm hit. The ship struck sand. The sea broke over us. We jumped into the small boat. The waves were monstrous. They overturned the boat. I was underwater. I held my breath. I swam with all my strength. A wave threw me against a rock. I held on. I climbed up. I looked back. The ship was gone. The boat was gone. My companions were gone. I was alone. I walked the shore. I found no one. Only 3 hats, 1 cap, and 2 shoes that were not fellows. I was wet. I was hungry. I was terrified of wild beasts. I climbed a tree and slept, fearing it would be my last night. But morning came. The storm had stopped. The ship was stuck on a rock, not far from shore. I swam to it. I made a raft from wood. I took bread, rice, cheese, and dried meat. I took clothes. I took guns and powder. I took tools. For days, I went back and forth. I stripped the ship of everything. On the 13th day, a storm blew the ship away. It disappeared. Now, I was truly alone. I found a small plain on the side of a hill. I built a tent. I built a fence around it with strong stakes. I made a ladder to go over the fence, then pulled it in after me. I felt like a king in a castle, but a king without subjects. I began to keep a journal. I wrote down the date, the 30th of September, 1659. I cut a notch in a wooden cross for every day. I learned to live. I planted barley and rice from seeds I found in a bag. When I saw the green stalks growing, I cried. It felt like a miracle. I learned to bake bread. I learned to make pots from clay. I learned to weave baskets. I caught goats. I tamed them. I had milk. I had cheese. I had meat. I made clothes from goat skins. I made an umbrella to shade me from the sun. I looked like a wild man, but I was surviving. But the silence was heavy. I would talk to my dog. I would talk to my parrot Pole. I taught him to say, "Poor Robinson Crusoe, where are you? Where have you been?" Hearing a voice, even a bird's voice, saved my mind. Years passed. I accepted my fate. I read the Bible I had saved. I prayed. I realized that my father was right. Peace comes from within, not from wandering. I repented for leaving him. I found God on that island in a way I never found him in England. Then, one day, it happened. It was noon. I was walking on the beach. I stopped. I froze. There, in the sand, was a footprint. A naked human foot. It was not mine. It was too large. I stood there like one thunderstruck. I listened. I looked around. I saw nothing. I ran back to my castle. I pulled up the ladder. I did not sleep for 3 nights. Who was it? Was it a savage from the mainland? Was it the devil? Fear returned. I reinforced my walls. I loaded my guns. I lived in terror for 2 years. Then I saw them. Cannibals. They came in canoes. They danced around a fire. I watched from a hill with my telescope. I saw them kill a prisoner. I was sick with horror. I decided I had to kill them. But then I thought, what right do I have? They do not know it is a sin. They have not attacked me. I left them to God. But one morning, I saw them again. They had 2 prisoners. One was killed, the other ran. He ran toward my castle. 3 men chased him. I had to act. I ran down. I knocked one pursuer down with my gun. I shot the other. The prisoner stopped. He looked at me. He was frightened by the noise of the gun. I smiled. I beckoned him to come. He came slowly. He kneeled. He kissed the ground. He put my foot on his head. It was a sign of slavery. I raised him up. I hugged him. I called him Friday, for the day I saved him. Friday was a handsome man. He was loyal. He was smart. I taught him English. I taught him about God. He told me about his people. He told me about the mainland. For the first time in 25 years, I had a friend. We lived happily. We worked together. We laughed. I was not alone. 3 years later, we saw an English ship. It was a mutiny. The crew had tied up the captain. I helped the captain retake his ship. We fought the mutineers. We won. The captain was amazed. He looked at my goatskin clothes. He looked at Friday. He called me the governor of the island. He said, "The ship is yours. We will take you home." Home. The word sounded strange. I left the island on the 19th of December, 1686. I had been there 28 years, 2 months, and 19 days. I took my goatskin cap. I took my umbrella. I took my parrot. And I took Friday. I arrived in England in June, 1687. My parents were dead. My brothers were dead. But I found my sister's children. I was a stranger to them, a man from a storybook. I found that my investments in Brazil had made me rich. Very rich. I had money, I had fame, I had adventure. But as I sit here now writing this, an old man in a warm house, I think of the island. I think of the silence. I think of the stars over the ocean. I learned that fear is worse than danger. I learned that having little makes you appreciate everything. I learned that God is always with us, even on a desolate shore, and I learned that a stubborn son can run to the ends of the earth, but he can never outrun himself. My name is Robinson Crusoe. I lived a life of storms and solitude, and if I could live it again, I do not know if I would stay in York, for the sea still calls, and perhaps it always will. This is my story. It is a story of survival, a story of faith, a story of a man who had everything, lost everything, and found himself. If you are listening, remember this. Be thankful for your safe home. Be thankful for your family. But do not fear the unknown, for even in the darkest storm, there is a shore waiting for you. Thank you for listening. If this story helped you improve your English, please subscribe, share it with a friend, and tell me in the comments. Would you survive on a desert island? Goodbye.